really check in with you guys on the RamosLaw.com text line. But I did want to talk about kind of revisiting a conversation from yesterday, but taking another step with that conversation. And it's about the wide receivers. ESPN.com wrote an article about second-year wide receivers.
Okay.
And, big questions is what they put it as to second-year wide receivers. And first I'll say this. It's cool that this Broncos wide receiver is in it because they're talking about guys like Ladd McConkey. They're talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. They're talking about Malik Neighbors.
Right.
These are big-time NFL wide receivers,
Big
right?
time. Yep.
And then if you scroll all the way down here to the bottom, you'll find a question about the Denver Broncos. And the Denver Broncos wide receiver, that they're talking about is Devaughn Vele. And they write, does he have a chance to hold his job? Vele won the big slot job in Sean Payton's Broncos offense last season. They write, though it didn't amount to much production. 41 catches, 475 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I don't think that's terrible for a rookie wide receiver on limited reps. They say Vele was something to watch, though 52% of his targets went for first downs or touchdowns, which was 4th in the NFL. That's damn good for a rookie. His 2.1 yards per route run against zone coverage ranked a respectable 34th in the NFL amongst all wide receivers. The Broncos spent a third-round pick on the guy we talked about yesterday in Pat Bryant, another big-bodied wide receiver who Peyton said reminds him of Michael Thomas. Vele is fighting for his job now, says ESPN.
Okay.
So, Cecil, I think it's fair to say, yeah, he's fighting for his job as far as, reps, time on the field. I don't think he's in any trouble of getting cut by any means. But when I read this, I started to think about what that wide receiver room is. And almost as we answered that question or kicked around the running back room question, do they need to add more? I'm looking at this this wide receiver room. Sutton, Mims, Bryant, they're all playing. They're all playing a lot. Now I look at Vele, Franklin, a couple of other names, a name or two might pop from camp that are just roster guys. When we're talking about dudes that are playing regular roles, of course Sutton, Mims, and Bryant are there. I think there's room for one more guy. Now, is that Devaughn Vele or Troy Franklin?
Right. Who is that one guy? And that's the battle we're going to see. And did Franklin's wild card game spark him to more? And it's not just Oregon Trey on the RamosLaw.com text line 303-733-1043. But sometimes on our YouTube channel, what's up, YouTube?
What up,
and
YouTubers? This
gets brought up about these wide receivers. Been doing a lot of Pat Bryant videos that are blowing it up. Your Dover on Denver this week was outstanding, and people really responded to it because it is about Pat Bryant and that upside. But people sometimes will say, hey, y'all can't forget about Troy Franklin. And I agree with that. And here's why. Because he's got a rare connection with Bo Nix that others just don't, even his pro teammates now. It's that deep-seated connection of I know what you're going to do before you even do it. You and I have a rhythm in our show. You and I know kind of how we're going to guide things, and we just do it naturally. It's really, you ever played three-man weave, warming up in basketball?
Yeah, love that drill.
We have a four-man weave at times.
Yeah.
If Spivak's not going to get lunch. But, we have that three-man weave, right? So that's the connection, that's the chemistry, and that's something that if you look at Troy Franklin, he automatically has with Bo. And a receiver, I'm going to give him 3 years. Had Marvin Mims not taken that step last year, you know what I'd be saying this year? Hey, one more year. Marvin's got to prove it, but one more year. Marvin took that step, and now I'm saying, what more is there? Mm-hmm. So with Troy Franklin, I think it's wrong-headed, and you and I haven't done it, and, sometimes YouTube comments are not very kind.
That's
Please
all right,
be kind.
Yeah.
Please be kind. It's okay.
You can say whatever you want. You're just some dude on the internet.
Sure. We're all on the internet.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you for watching and listening to this show. But if you look at Troy Franklin, I'm not going to write him off at all. Nobody should be. In fact, you should be thinking of Troy Franklin as the future number one wide receiver for this team. Now, he's got to make it happen. Mm-hmm. And so far, it looks like he's pretty far away from being a number one wide receiver. But I'm going to give him the benefit of time.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I like the 2-3 year kind of window thing. And it's always obviously going to be different for every position. Because as you were saying that, I'm like, well, what does Cecil think about timeline on running backs? Well, I guess drops aren't as bad as fumbles because if you drop it when you're holding it, it's a fumble and the team can gain possession. Troy Franklin just drops the ball and you're losing the down rather than the possession. But the timeline, I would probably say 2 years because like you said, if Marvin didn't start to pop in week 9, 10, whenever you want to call it last year,
right.
I think we'd all be having that conversation of hey, is this, we got to talk about the B word with Marvin Mims, and it's B-U-S-T is what I'm talking about there. So, and he avoided that with what he was able to do, but I think we would have been talking about it going into the third year.
Right. And now with Franklin, he's got this year to see if he can take that jump. Not everyone's going to be Marvin. Not everyone has the fire of Marvin Mims. I'm here to tell you, I've witnessed it in person and standing next to that guy when he's just staring at you, and you can feel the intensity.
Like an angry little fella.
He's so intense. Yeah, he is angry. And I love it. On the field, it comes through. So Franklin, who is a little bit more laid back, but I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying Mims made this amazing step, and I think it would be incorrect for us to assume that Troy Franklin is going to make similar steps. It might take 2 years for Franklin to make the step that Mims made in 1 year, but he's got that time because as a wide receiver, you always give him 3 years. Your third year is going to tell the tale. Greats like Marvin Harrison, not junior, but Marvin Harrison senior, look at his first 2 years, and then look at his third year. That's when he blew it up. I'm not saying Troy Franklin is going to be Marvin Harrison. Don't at me, bro. But that's what receivers historically have done. Randy Moss changed the game. He showed up. He was a star day one.
He's the exception to the rule.
Exactly. And there's a few others, but most of the time it's going to take a couple, 3 years for a receiver to get going. And I look forward to Troy Franklin for taking that step. And he's got the tools, not only the connection with Bo Nix, he has tools that Devaughn Vele will never have at all. So Devaughn Vele might be that nice, Broncos fans love the end of the roster guy. They love that guy. And Vele can be much more than that. And all due respect to Vele. And I haven't put eyes on him yet, but I will as soon as I can. But I'll tell you, last year, and I talked to Devon about this, he doesn't yet understand leverage. He's learning that from Courtland Sutton. I will give him the benefit of the doubt that he can take a second-year leap. But I can't say right now that he knows how to run routes, and I know he doesn't have the speed of Troy Franklin.
Yeah, that's something that, again, it's just not teachable. You do or you do not have that sort of speed.
Yeah.
So Troy can learn the other things.
Yes.
Devon isn't going to learn how to run that fast like a guy in Troy Franklin. I just think it's interesting, man, and this is something we can get into later and as we get closer, but I was thinking about what we talked about with the running back room, now what we're having the conversation here today about the wide receiver room, and by the time we get to camp in July, I don't think there are a lot of training camp battle for wide receiver 2 or CB2, I think there are a couple of those, but I think for the most part, with what George and Sean Payton have done now together with 3 drafts, this is all about kind of refining roles rather than competing for your spot. And you're hey, am I a starter? Am I a backup? I think it's pretty clear. 1 through 20, 1 through 19, what we're looking at for this starting group offensively and defensively.
Yep.
I think that's a big advantage for this team of you learn the playbook, you learn your role, and these backup guys are going to define their roles in training camp. It's a good position for the team to be in.
It's a great position for the Broncos to be in because I'm not going to say it would be hyperbolic for me. It's not Hot Take Tuesday. I'm not going to say the Broncos are in the driver's seat for the AFC West, but I think everyone out there should have the expectation that the division is theirs.
I like that.
Kansas City is no longer going to be that reigning king